What is up, guys? It's Doo Poker here, back for another video. Today we are going to talk about 3-bet pots, specifically the tendency in 3-bet pots from the population in the bet check fold line. What do I mean? I mean we are the imposition 3-bet pot pre-flop caller. We called the flop, and now on the turn, our opponent checks to us. I'm going to show you some MDA from the artificial intelligence, and we're going to get into this spot. So this is the 3-bet pot at a position pre-flop raiser. Bet, check, fold frequencies, small blind versus cutoff. What do you guys notice? You notice that the turn card is a huge factor in the check fold frequencies from the out of position player. Why is the turn card such a big factor? Well, we have to go to bet frequencies in general, and then we're going to get more specific. This is the field as the 3-bet pot out of position pre-flop raiser, bet. What do you guys notice? You notice they are on the high side of GTO or over barreling the turn. Since we know this, when they check, the turn card is the biggest factor in if we should stab or not, because we know there is an overfold in the bet check fold line, but we want to understand, should we be stabbing or should we be checking? So here, when the ace comes on the turn, we see the bet 30 check fold frequencies at 46.7%. Now compare this to a 3 on the turn. It's 64. These are huge differences. Because the overcard on the turn is over barreled, which means it's over bluffed, when they check on the turn, they are calling more than theory. Let's go to a GTO Wizard Sim. So in this spot, we are the small blind and we 3-bet pre-flop. We are versus a cutoff who called. We decide to bet 50 on the flop. Now, when we're on the turn, the population is going to construct ranges very differently than a solver. A solver is going to check a hand like ace-jack and ace-10. People are not going to be checking these hands. What they're going to do is they're going to check the weak ace-x, but they're going to barrel their bluffs. They're not also going to bet a hand like queens or kings that often. So what happens is they become much more polarized. When they bet 50 on the flop and they check on an ace turn, they are going to be under folding to a stab. Why? Because they're going to bet their air on the turn. So when they check, they're too showdown heavy. I also want to go back to this data and show you something. When you compare a bet 30 on the flop to a bet 50 on the flop, and we stab 50% on the turn, what do you guys notice? You notice that the bet 50 on the flop folds more than the bet 30. Why is this? Why does a 962 X board check fold more on a bet 30 c-bet, bet 50 c-bet sizing than a bet 30 c-bet sizing? The reasoning is this: because when they bet 50 on the flop, they're too polarized. So we know they're overly polarized on the turn, which leads to over folding. Because when they're bet 30ing, they are probably going for range, which means they're more merged. When they bet 50, they're more polarized. We know when they check a polarized range, that range is going to be overfolded. So this is an important note. You want to stab more against a bet 50 on the turn, when you're on the turn, than a bet 30, because the bet 50 check fold frequencies are folded more than a bet 30 check fold frequency. So let's go to notes. So what we're understanding here is this: when a spot is over barreled on the turn, the opposite will be true. When an ace comes on the turn, we know the out of position pre-flop raiser is going to over barrel that spot. That means if he checks, it's going to be underfolded in the bet check fold line. This is very important to understand. So you don't want to be stabbing air on a 962 ace X board with a hand like a float like Jack 10, right? You want to check back because it is called more than theory. Secondly, if you compare bet 30 check fold to bet 50 check fold, we notice that the bet 50 check fold folds more because the flop is polarized. When they bet 30, they're more merged because they're probably betting range. And when they bet 50, they're more polar, which leads them to more folding on the turn. So stab more against a bet 50 compared to a bet 30. Finally, let's talk about trapping. Let's go back to the GTO Wizard Sim. Let's say I have a hand like pocket nines and I am the cutoff on the turn. My opponent checks to me. I always want to bet this hand because the ace is underfolded. Same thing on a king turn. But if I change this ace to a 4, well, we go back to the data and we see the 4 is going to be massively overfolded. So if you have a set on the turn on a 9-6-2-4 board and you called a bet 50 on the flop, you don't want to bet turn with your set for 2 reasons. Since he bet 50 on the flop, the turn's going to be overfolded and the turn card is also overfolded. So 2 data points that make you want to check back a hand like pocket nines. So we check back a hand like pocket nines to let a hand like ace king or ace queen either bluff the river or catch up and hit an ace king or queen on the river. So 3 important points. When you're trapping, you want to consider what is the turn card. Is it overfolded or underfolded? If it's overfolded, you check back. If it's underfolded, you stab. We know that the bet 30 compared to the bet 50, the bet 50 check fold gets more folds. And finally, on the turn card, if it's an over-barreled turn spot, it will be underfolded in the opposite line. This is a very important concept, MDA concept. Any over-barreled turn spot will be underfolded in the opposite line. If you enjoy this type of content, please give me a like, please give me a subscribe. New video every single day, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.